Hello there, this is Nick Doan, current overall world record holder in Lunar the Silver Star, here to talk you through my run and hopefully get this run into agdq this year, because it's a great game. It's one I spent many years trying to perfect, and let's go! So the overall story starts off here in the village of Berg. Our hero Alex is at the memorial for the deceased Dragon Master Dine. Dine was a hero that came through and saved the world years ago, and Alex has been inspired ever since. But maybe a little too inspired.
There you are, Alex. I've been looking all over for you.
He comes to the grave every day.
Listen, I know you really look up to Dragon Master Dine, but this is ridiculous. If Dine were still alive today, I'm sure he'd tell you to stop dreaming about his exciting quest, get off your butt, and set out on your own fantastic adventures. I know you have the courage to be a great hero, just like Dine. So what's holding you back?
And so he has spent way too much time daydreaming about being a Dragon Master, and people are ready for him to go out and become a Dragon Master. It's enough talk. It's time to go find adventure, and adventure would just come knocking on his door right here. Ramus, his buddy of a long time, walks up to him and he's like, "Hey, I got an idea for an adventure. I know you've been looking for one. Let's go and hit up the dragon cave near us. That sounds pretty adventurous. But first we have an appointment. Our adopted sister Luna is waiting for us because we have to practice our song for this festival. There's a festival that's coming around real soon, and we need our practice because the festival is totally really going to happen, like for real." As you can see,
Good morning, Alex.
Luna has magical powers where she's able to levitate
Did Ramus ever
leaves
find you?
in the middle of the air.
You know, he
You can
seemed
see
really
there to the
anxious
left of
track you
her
down.
arm and over her right
But
shoulder.
then he's probably hatched another
Clearly
harebrained
free-flowing
scheme. Well, anyway,
pieces of
let's
leaves
just
in the air.
practice our song for the festival.
So this cutscene was always big to me. Beautiful singing, and it wasn't until I started diving into the Japanese version of this game did I realize this is not the English voice actress doing this song. It is the Japanese voice actress. They just took her recording and dropped it in the middle of this English cutscene. As you can see by the side eye of Alex and Null there, they weren't into it.
What happened? Alex? Your harp. You're playing so strange.
Luna is so
Something
perceptive.
bothering you?
She's so perceptive
can
with
tell me.
emotion and music.
Alex,
She can tell
please tell
something's
me what's
wrong just
wrong.
by how Alex is playing his harp that day. She didn't even need the sideways glances. So Alex spills the beans, says, "I've been thinking about going to this dragon cave. That's kind of why I'm so distracted." And Luna's like, "Yeah, word. Never been able to convince you otherwise of anything in your life, so guess I'll go with you. Let's go check the basement before we go adventuring." Because right now, Alex is only equipped with a harp and the peasant's clothes. And the dirt boot. If you would have looked, his boots in this outfit are actually the same color as the dirt outside. But now he's got a dagger, and not only peasant clothes, he's got heavy clothes. So now our adventure can really begin. And Ramus is there waiting for us. But instead of just leaving, we know better. This is the first kind of skip in the run. This game's programmed really tight, so there aren't actually any skips to be had in the game. But the game expects you to go off to the Dragon Cave right now without going to Ramus's house and picking up that old ring. But if you were to do that, you wouldn't be able to actually progress in the Dragon Cave. So we skip the first visit, as it were, go get the old ring, and then we head to the Dragon Cave. Because once you get to the White Dragon Cave, there's this big block of ice here. And even when you make it disappear by burning it with that old ring, which for some reason Ramus just had in his cabinet at home, it's hard to tell there, but there are a couple times where when you interact with things in this game, they become invisible. And they don't quite leave the screen immediately. So if you were to walk there towards the piece of ice that just disappeared, it would just straight up block you, and you'd walk around an invisible piece of ice. So its graphic is deloaded, but its hitbox isn't until you move. Like if you were to move up and then down, you could walk right through where it used to be, but if you move straight down, it'll bump you over. And we'll talk about the whole bumping mechanic of this game in depth as we go. For sure. But for now, it's time to meet the White Dragon. So a big version difference in between the Japanese and the English version is there are some characters that have different names. And in the English version, this character is named Quark. But in the Japanese version, he's named Fidey. I don't know what's up with the translation there, but
My friend,
you know now.
you are the first adventurers to visit me in a long time. I am Quark, Tetrarch of the Dragon Tribe. You have journeyed
So he
far,
says he's Tetrarch of the
now
Dragon Tribe
arrive
in
at
this.
my lair.
But that's only in the English version. That's a really cool word that
Journey
means he's
few
like
have survived.
equal leader with the other
Must be
dragons.
urgent.
But that's a word and honorary that's only in this version of the game, not in the original Japanese. So here's the first poop joke in the game. That's right, they say that dragon diamonds, which is why we came here in the first place. Ramus had the bright idea to go harvest a dragon diamond from this cave. Dragon diamonds are, well, they're personally produced by the White Dragon, shall we say. And beyond that, they're worth a grand total of whatever you can convince a jeweler to give you. They pretty much, nobody will buy them directly, so that's going to be a problem we're going to run into in a few minutes here. But they actually end up being not super duper lucrative in the long scheme of this game. Especially when you split the money between multiple parties. But again, we'll get to this later in the game. For now, we've actually made our first trip all the way through this White Dragon Cave. It's one of the few dungeons in this game where we have to memorize forwards and backwards. Which, that sure is fun for the runners out there. This mountain path is, I don't know if it's a developer secret or what, but it's the only one in the game that I've ever found. And it actually, I'd never found it myself. I played it for months and months when I first got the game as a kid, until I had a friend come over, and they just found it, and I was pretty impressed. I digress though, so we tried to sell the Dragon Diamond in our sleepy little village of Berg, and in a funny bit of realism, the shop owner was like, yeah, we can't afford a Dragon Diamond here in this village. You're gonna have to find some other way. You have to go to a bigger city. Only problem is the bridge off the continent to the bigger cities has been washed out or something. It's gone at any rate. So we have to go visit the woodcutter, they call him, and he doesn't have his axe. So unfortunately, we have to venture to the Weird Woods. And the problem with the Weird Woods is, you see those blue mutant flies there? Especially them, but almost every flying enemy in the game has a severe advantage on turn order. Turn order gets real weird in this game. Speed is a consideration, but turn order, like, watch this fight. We are very low level, but we can be sure that every mutant fly is going to get their turn before we can even run away. But we made it through. That last mutant fly battle is actually a mandatory encounter. There are 4 of those in the game, and if you really were to save and quit over and over and over, you would only find that there are 4 random encounters that aren't actually random. Unfortunately, we got another random encounter here. There are some tactics to save and quit in the Weird Woods that sometimes save time, sometimes don't. You don't always... I guess you always start on the same seed when you start the game, but a lot of things affect the random enemy encounter table. So it's more or less actually random, unless you're loading on the screen from a save and quit that you're trying to influence the random encounters in. If you go into a town, if you go into the menu and use an item, there are so many different ways to move the encounter values around. So there are a lot of random encounters. This is it's approaching a 30-year-old game. But you notice there, when we gave the axe back to the woodcutter so he could fix the bridge for us, we got experience, and it wasn't from a battle. We actually are just going back to our hometown now so Ramus can get some snacks. Get it? Because he's the chubby character. And we're going to say goodbye to our mom and dad here, because we are adopted brother and sister, as the storyline goes. So we get a letter from our father and 500 silver from our mom, because money is going to be really tight in the beginning of this game. And then we're heading off. But I was saying before, you can get experience for certain keystone moments in the storyline progression of this game without winning battles. And one of the biggest differences between the versions, the English version, you can get multiple levels up per an experience event. Usually you would only get multiple levels up in the case of beating a boss, but in the Japanese version, no matter what, you can only get 1 level up per experience event. So it really separates the game between regions. But now we're at the port city. We have to talk to a couple NPCs, and look at this dude. Flashy looking dude, huh? So he's Nash. He comes from the magic city of Vane. More on that later, but right now we can't just leave the port, because the guy in the pirate hat there down at the docks, he actually lost his sea chart in a gambling match to this lady that lives in the northwest of this part of Caldor Isle. And I mean, that makes sense. I wouldn't want to have to navigate across the ocean without my sea chart, so we'll go on our second fetch quest so far of the game, if you don't want to count the Dragon Diamond, because that was a little more than a fetch quest. But you'd notice that I quickly switched order, because Alex is on the verge of death here. We put Nash in the front of the party to be our tank for now, and now we arrive at the old hag's house, some translations call her, some versions. And we trade an item that Nash came with, the water cane, for the sea chart. If you talk to that lady a little more, she wants to take your white cat with wings, let's go with, your pet Null, and eat him. But obviously we're not going to trade Null, we'll just use the water cane. So we've got the sea chart. there shouldn't be too much else we need to get across the ocean and get to the city we need to get to in order to sell our diamond and make ourselves rich. So we'll make our way back here to this second town. It's called the port town of Saith. Interesting name. And you'll notice here, I'll hold down and I'll just bounce. I'll bounce off of everything. We'll get to that later, but for now... Ugh, he blew it. So, now get this. This guy wants us to believe that in order for us to leave port, we need to turn on the lighthouse. So in order to leave port, in the daytime, we need the lighthouse to be on. So here's a save and quit. You'll see many save and quits throughout this run, and even though they take a while, 30-ish seconds, a little more, they're pretty helpful, especially in areas like the lighthouse. I mentioned earlier we have some save and quit kind of tactics sort of situations, sometimes in the Weird Woods, sometimes in the lighthouse, but we're really just trying to limit the number of random encounters we get, especially when we're going to be running into the mutant flies in the beginning part of the game. This is a really, really short dungeon. This is one of those mandatory random encounters I was speaking about earlier. You can't skip it. And you'll see we're already at the top. Why would we need to save and quit in such a short dungeon? But in fact, the encounter rate is pretty ridiculous in this dungeon. So with save and quit, we got literally no battles. And now we'll strip Nash and Luna, because we're going to need to sell their stuff to get the money we need, and that should give you a little hint at what's coming up next. We're venturing off of our home island of Caldor Isle, and we're headed off towards adventure for Alex and towards money for Ramus, but Luna has to say goodbye for now. And pay a little close attention to how she frames this, paying a special note to them being adopted siblings.
I never dreamed we'd say goodbye like this. The world beyond these shores is such a dangerous place. Oh, Alex, you have to come back to me. I'll pray constantly for your safe return. Goodbye, my love.
So yeah, they share a bedroom. Yeah, ooh, that's gonna just leave that without much more comment there. So, love interest slash brother and sister. I mean, here we are in Maribia, the big city of the game, as it were. The Emerald Oceans, the Emerald Hills, and we're pulling into port. It is time for Nash to leave the party because he's got some things he needs to check into on Black Rose Street. But we finally made it here, and since we're finally in the big city, what's one of the main things you want to do when you hit up a big city? You go shopping. So let's sell off everything that we can sell and buy some healing items, because we will need them. So this is the jeweler. Let's sell our dragon diamonds. He's going to give us 4,000 silver for it. Now that's a lot of silver. But he kind of disappeared into the sewer that's connected to his shop. That's suspect, huh? And this guard is like, hey, you probably shouldn't just wander down here. There's some pretty stellar level enemies for, what are you, level 2 or 3 here? So we're gonna go try to find out how we can get through the sewers a little more safely. We'll hit up Nash over on Black Rose Street. And Black Rose Street is like the mini vein, the mini magical city that Nash comes from. So, hey Nash, what should we do? And he's like, well, go see if they can unlock your magic power. And here we go. Alex now has a magic spell. Ramus, not so much. But we have the first level magic spell in the game, which just so happens to be just enough to get us through the sewers when if we're lucky. So we're back into the sewers. This can be a very, very deadly part of the game. There are some enemies down here that we don't want to see. They're blue, like jumping fish, weirdly enough. Luckily, we haven't run into one yet. Those enemies were positioned so far away they couldn't touch us, but these ones can. And there we go. See how hard they hit? Those guys take about 25% of your health with one swipe. The fish can take about 50%. There's the bumping again. I'm just holding up there and bumping off the walls. I'll have a breakdown of what that's all about at some point. We got kinda lucky. It's actually based on our save and quit at the lighthouse. The enemies we faced and the attacks they did are pretty consistent if we save and quit where we did. Let's heal up, equip some healing items to Alex and Ramus, and here we go. The first boss battle in the game. The water dragon. No relation to the real dragons in the world, funnily enough. Completely different genre of enemy. This boss battle is pretty random, seemingly about 50-50 what enemy, I should say what ally that this enemy attacks. So we actually want the battle playing out like this, because now we can have Ramus burn his unusable turn to heal Alex. Now, no matter even if we put a range weapon on Ramus here, he actually can't cause any damage to the water dragon. That's why we had to go and get our magic spell from Black Rose Street. And we're not going to worry too much about healing Ramus, because if he dies, our main character will get all the experience for this battle. So, you can see the tactic here. Flame, 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 flame. And there we go. Now you'll notice there, Alex got Power Litany on his first level up from that boss battle. I'll get back to that in a minute. But now, we found our jeweler. He's trying to negotiate even after we cornered him, but we can bring him from 1,000 silver all the way up to 3,000, which nets us each 1,500 silver, 1,500 for Ramus, 1,500 for Alex. And now all we have to do is survive the trip back to the surface. Which is easier said than done, but going good so far. Let me get back to what I was saying earlier though. So, like I said, right on that first level up from that boss, Alex got his first healing spell, which is pretty helpful trying to escape from the sewers, but there's been some new discoveries since I've been running this game lately. We noticed that the magic that you receive is actually RNG dependent. Not only can you get Power Litany on that first level up there, you could get it not on the first level up, you could get it not on the second level up. It could take 3 levels to unlock Power Litany. So, strangely enough, in this game, even the magic acquisition is RNG dependent. So, here we go again. We're stripping another character, so you know what that means. And it makes a lot of sense, right? We have to say goodbye to our buddy Ramus, because his adventure's over. I mean, he's got 1,500 silver now. He's rich. He wasn't craving adventure, he was craving that silver. But Alex was craving adventure, and it just so happened that Nash really saw some potential in Alex and was like, hey, I'm going to extend an invitation to the Magic City of Vane for you. But first, we got some shopping to do. We're going to buy a lot of armor, because the next thing we're doing, not only is it going to be tough, it's going to be solo. We're not going to just walk into the Magic City of Vane. I mean Nash is, because he's a well-established citizen of Vane, but Alex is not. Alex has to take the road that everybody ostensibly takes to get into the Magic City of Vane for the first time. They have to go through the Cave of Trials. And let me just tell you, it is the worst part of the entire game, the most brutal part of the entire run. And here we go. Don't worry, you'll be fine, he says, but you won't be fine necessarily. Let's just see what this guy has to say. When you get to the other end, the trial is over. But what he should really say is, when you die to bronze dogs, the trial is over. So not only is this another one of those pretty in-depth, pretty long dungeons that you have to memorize not only forwards but backwards, there are two bosses waiting for us here. The first of which is the bronze dogs, which funnily enough, when you go into the battle, Nal just says, watch out, it's bronze dog, but there are 4 of them. But we're coming up to them in just a moment here, and before we get in, since it's going to be a quick battle, let me set it up. There are 4 pretty tough dogs. They take maybe 20% of your health with each hit, so you can't take too many hits. You want to flee. You want to flee into a corner if possible. Okay, it worked out that time. That's great. Doesn't always work out, and you have to really learn interesting tactics to stay alive through this battle. Now, Holy Smith, the old world record holder, said that there are only 3 or 4 permutations of this battle, but he's not right. There might be only 3 or 4 places you can flee to, but there are many different permutations of this battle, because turn order is pretty randomized in this game. You might only run to 3 or 4 different places, but if one dog goes faster than you're expecting them to, which they almost always act first, I'd say you have about a 50-50 chance of surviving any one encounter here. But that's why we save beforehand. It's a good donation incentive, and it doesn't take too much time if you lose. It really doesn't. It's not marathon safe necessarily, but I mean, are we talking a minute here? It's not going to derail our whole run. Anyway, we're past bronze dogs now, on to the next long portion of the Cave of Trials. Now, there's actually an extra treasure we pick up here, a starlight. It'll give us, I think, 30 MP around there, with some RNG rolls in there. Not 30 exactly, but this one. We don't actually have to pick that up. Of course, MP healing items really come into value later on in the run for boss battles, but we don't need that one. We get that one because there's a very, very tight amount of silver we're going to need at the next shopping that we do. And we can't guarantee that we have enough. We can guarantee that we're right around enough, but that's why we pick up that extra item to sell just in case. Because every boss can give you 100% of the silver they give out, or 85%, or anywhere in between. So even silver drops have an RNG in this game. So here we go. This is Truffle Troubler. Not quite as brutal as Bronze Dogs. Not quite. Now, if he goes diagonal here, good, he went forward. That's great. That means he won't touch us. And we'll flee 2 times, and we're really in business here. There are a couple of permutations of this battle as well, and we're gonna take a little damage here, but we know we're right at the end of the road here. Alright, we made it through the trial cave. This is the end, and we're going to that magic city of Vane. Oh, so beautiful. It's actually a city that floats in the sky under the magical power of... I don't know what magical power. Althena's power, maybe? The goddess of the world? They don't expressly say what magical power floats the city in this game, but in later games it's said that it's the power of the dragons, but doesn't really make much sense in universe in Lunar 1. So, did you notice that I went behind the exit of the Cave of Trials to get the treasure there? There are actually about a little more than a dozen secret treasure chests in this game. And it's kind of pretty arcane knowledge. Only some of the most in-depth knowledge holders of Lunar know where all these secret treasure chests are. You'll see another one behind this tower here. And we're picking up all the treasure we can get our hands on here. Because, like I said, we're about to do some crit shopping. But first, let's meet Mia Ausa. I love her hair color, huh? Nice deep blue. But let's oh, wow. So we just got warped to the entrance from trying to go through the second floor. Interesting. That's kind of like a cursed tower for right now. At any rate, let's go to the Magic Guild, meet up with our buddy Nash, and say, "Hey Nash, we're here in Vane. We made it through the trial cave." And Nash is like, "Yeah, man, good job. Those bronze dogs, right?" And he walks. We wait while he walks, because it's an old school game. Then we go up, grab the music box, because that's worth some money, and we meet this dude.
Welcome to the Magic Guild of Vane, Alex of Berg. I'm Galleon, Premier of the Guild. My apprentice Nash speaks well of you.
Mm-hmm.
He says you helped him a great deal during his journey. You seem to be quite resourceful, Alex. Perhaps you can help me.
Oh, that doesn't seem foreboding at all. If you'll notice there, they actually had the hero theme in the background, but it was pitch shifted, strangely. Maybe a bit of audio foreshadowing, huh? But we're off to help Galleon, Premier of the Guild. Voice actor extraordinaire there. Love that voice. And let's see, will we have enough money? We're short. We're 2 silver short. And look, the starlight makes up that silver we needed. We're able to get the saber and the bow, because we got some bosses coming up. So we need to equip... Alex doesn't have any weapons equipped. Did you even notice that he had no weapon equipped when we were doing the trial cave? We fought through 2 bosses. Actually, going back to the water dragon, we fought through 3 bosses without any weapons equipped to the main character. So it was time definitely to purchase some, and since Nash is coming with, we'll get one for him too. Pop into Nanza, pop out right quick. We actually visit that town because we can warp there directly later. We could, in theory, walk from Vane later, but if you do any encounters, which you almost certainly will, it'll take longer because we'll have more party members later. And, you know, we'd have to warp out from Vane and it's just quicker to tag it now and tag out, so we can warp back directly a little bit later in the game. So here is Jessica D'Alkirk. You gotta love that hood. She's you'd think she was a guest party member, but kinda not. At any rate, we are here in the village of Lon, under the guidance of Galleon. Turns out that there's a dragon master on this island cave that's been terrorizing the villagers. Doesn't sound very heroic. So Galleon tasked us to go meet with this dragon master and see what he was about. You know, if we kill him, is, you know, whatever. But at any rate, we gotta go check it out. Alright, guys. Story time. Island Cave. This cave was probably the first time in gaming that I got so stuck. So stuck. I'm actually pretty convinced that they made this cave like this to sell the strategy guide for the game, because it actually has a reference in the game manual. Are you stuck in the island cave? Get the strategy guide, and you know, you can order it from the back. So watch this. Look at that. You walk down through the wall, which you would never even notice was possible unless you walked the cave for hours or bought the strategy guide. I'm so convinced. It's the only part in the game that's like that. And I'm convinced they did it just to sell strategy guides. So there we put the harp in spot 1. And that's just to influence a drop we're going to get in a little bit. We actually want the first slot taken up, because we're going to get a prison key that's never going to do anything for us. And we don't want that to be in our first item slot. So here we are. We're fighting the 4 dragons of Dragon Master Zoc. They don't really look like dragons, and they're called raptors. But I mean, he's a Dragon Master, right? So, Dragon Masters control the 4 that doesn't really sound right, but at any rate, it's a fairly tough battle. It's pretty RNG dependent. As you can see, every single turn somebody is going first that didn't go first the turn order before. And we let Alex get down to critical here. You see that little extra heal that popped on Alex? If somebody's in critical health, one person will get like 2% HP boost at the end of a round. But we got our heal off in time, luckily. You know, it's pretty RNG dependent, so I usually stay a little safer than I did this time. We let Alex get pretty crit, but we're making good progress here. A lot of the time, if we can manage it, we want either Jess or Nash to die, so Alex gets full levels up from this encounter, but we stayed pretty beefy here, so we're going to split the experience between all 3 of our party members, and we won. Great, great, great. So, a very important chest we went out of our way to grab earlier was the item we're about to use, called Wind Essence. Wind Essences are one of the most important items in this speedrun. They let you warp out of a dungeon without using a spell. You just have to have a Wind Essence. So, very, very helpful in a few key points in this run. But at any rate, we have now investigated Dragon Master Zoc and his raptors and found that he was an imposter Dragon Master. No way. That's crazy. So, Jess is out of our party for now. As I said, she's kind of a guest party member. We actually get a lot of kind of guest party members throughout this game, which I think is one of the hallmarks of a good old school JRPG. But we actually have... This is a great time to read donations and stuff, because we have a bit of a walk back to Vane. There's no way to warp in this game yet. And, you know, we'll just be walking, getting some random encounters in. Maybe see that bump off that mountain? Maybe it's a good time, since I'm not reading donations right now, to explain bumping in this game. There's not like a community term for it necessarily. I just call it wall bumping or wall riding. If you say you hold right and walk into the side of a mountain, it'll bump you to the right instead of like... you can pretty much keep your momentum. It's not really momentum, but you can keep your direction of movement even by bumping. See there, you could have just been holding right and it'd bump you up the wall and over to the right. It's interesting. It's just, you don't have to constantly move your directionals to go around everything. You can just bump around and hold the same direction. And as long... It's a little bit complicated, the calculations that go into it. Some walls are different from some other walls, and you'll expect them to bump you one way and they won't. But it's pretty self-explanatory. With a couple minutes of testing it, you'd understand wall bumping if you got into this game. But for now, they're like, hey, you just helped us out? You're going to jail. And how do we escape jail? That's right, we move about 3 steps to the right. So next time you're trapped in Corel prison or whatever, just move 3 steps to the right, and that's all you need to do. So this is Mia Ausa. Mia Ausa's with us now. She needs our help. She'll unlock us, she'll give us that swanky prison key that we don't want in the top spot of our items. And she just needs one thing. You see, she thinks something weird is going on in Vane. Her mom, the person who you just met who sent you to jail, she's been acting real weird. So we need to go to the Silver Spire and use the dragon ring in order to break the seal so we can get in, because in the top of this brutal dungeon, if you don't save and quit here, which is a solid tactic, you can definitely die. You can lose a run here. But, you know, we've planned around that nowadays. This run doesn't save and quit, but, you know, obviously it survives. But at any rate, Mia's mom has been acting real weird. We need to go to the top of the Silver Spire to get Althena's mirror, because that's a cool little item that it will actually... How do I say it? It like reveals the truth of anything that you shine it on. So she thinks something's up with her mom. Maybe she's got a spell cast on her, maybe it's not her mom. She wants to use Althena's mirror to find out what is the deal with her mom. But first, we need to get through all these firebirds. Like I was saying earlier, flying enemies have a huge advantage in turn order. And there was the fabled 2 steps, 2 encounters. That happens a few times in this run, for sure. Then there was 2 more steps and a 3rd encounter. So maybe that's the thing High Spirits was talking about back when he ran this a few years ago. He said that there's some RNG tables that encounter 3 enemies in 3 steps. I've never noticed that. I've definitely done 2 and 2 steps sometimes, and there you had 3 and about 4 steps. But we have Althena's mirror now. We're on our way back down from the Silver Spire, and we're still surviving. As you can see, these enemies, it really is pretty beneficial to save and quit. It does take about 35 seconds each time you do it in the English version, but I mean, it can definitely be the difference between living and dying here. It actually usually saves time as well. It's hard to say how much time it saves overall because we're not save and quitting every dungeon because it, like I said, it costs 35 seconds every time we do it. And you know, if you don't get the encounters in the Silver Spire, you're just going to get more in the next dungeon. That's just how it's going to work. And speaking of next dungeon, so we're going back to the Trial Cave. Weirdly enough, for where we have to go, you can only access it through the Trial Cave. But since we're not first time entrants into the city of Vane, even if we were to just go back to the transmission fountain, we can't warp to the bottom of the Trial Cave anymore. We have to walk all the way to the bottom from the top again. That's why I said we have to actually memorize this dungeon forwards and backwards, which is a pain because there are like, I don't know, I never did count how many, but there are a solid 15 dungeons in this game, which is why for this run, notes are very important. Now let's get back to wall bumping for a minute. As you can see, I'm trying not to wall bump. In my original world record, I wall bumped all over the place, but it seems like if you wall bump and you actually bump, you don't just wall ride like a flat part of the wall. For every bump, it gives you 2 steps instead of just 1, which, I mean, it kind of makes sense. It bumps you down, bumps you right, let's say. But now, there was a time where the meta was you wanna wall bump as much as possible because you want to keep your step count consistent. But with a little more testing and a little more knowledge, it seems like wall bumping is usually costing you extra steps, even though it keeps things more consistent. It's kind of a decision you have to make. Do you want to keep things very consistent, or do you want to keep your step count that little bit lower? And there are some dungeons and some parts of some dungeons where wall bumping is just going to happen. Like here, you're going to bump somewhere there. It's just, you'd have to go way slower to get it exactly right. So in this cutscene here where Nash joins, you'll see that treasure chest pop on screen. The programming couldn't get exactly right, so that's the part of the game where I realized, wow, there are actually hidden treasures around here in this game. And I actually did my best to go and find them all. I do believe I did find them all. I think there were 13, maybe 14. And in the future, there'll be a Lunar the Silver Star 100% run that'll kind of illuminate to the greater community where all these chests are. Right now, it's kind of all just in my head and in whoever else's head who's documented all these. If you go onto the RPG Shrine, the page for Lunar the Silver Star, which is such a great resource for this planning and this run, all of those hidden treasure chests are actually not listed. You'd think they were, because pretty much everything else is listed in that knowledge base, but not that. We'll do a quick save here because we are playing the English version, and the other really big version difference, oh yes, as you can see, her mother was an imposter. It's actually Zenobia. What a cool name, huh? So Zenobia is a bad guy from the Vile tribe. They're really baddies. And she summons these 2 guys called Pipers. These are one of 6 enemy types, which are pretty much all boss types. Yeah, they are all boss types. There are 6 different boss types between the Japanese version and English version of the games that carry different stat blocks. And it just so happens in the English version, these pipers are a lot harder to kill than the Japanese counterparts. And in the Japanese run, you can actually kill them before the music loops. But in this version, obviously, it takes a lot longer. Now, I got really risky here in this run, but Nash was even more critical than Alex. So I got lucky that the Piper chose to attack Nash instead here. It could have went that other way. And I made the smart move to heal instead of using full stone, because I knew this Piper had a lot of HP left. So much, in fact, that he was able to kill off both Mia and Nash, which makes Alex get all the levels up here. Which is pretty good, because we have a pretty tough boss up next. It turns out Galleon, instead of stepping in and saving us, like the level, I think, 98 guy he is, he just sat back and was like, wow, that was weird, huh? Man, that was just so weird that you guys almost got murdered and I just stood around. Well, hey, at any rate, I heard you know where the White Dragon Cave is, huh? Wow, that's nuts. We should totally go there, Alex. And Alex is like, yeah, we should. So we're off to the port of Maribia again. We're going to get a little lost here in this run because you can't memorize this whole game. I mean, you'd be memorizing like 2,500 different little things if you memorize every part of this game. But we're back in Maribia, and here's some pretty important shopping. You know how I mentioned how wind essences were very important to get us out of dungeons before? Now's the time to get them. That's really the one chance we're going to get to buy wind essences. Of course we could go back and buy them more later, but speedrun wise, that's our one chance to go get wind essences. And in more current runs, like the next run after this run, I realized we should also use that time to sell some high level items, and because we can get by with only one Seed of Vigor later. And Seed of Vigor is, I'll say, the most important item in this game. It gives you full MP heals. So we're actually, nowadays, the meta is to sell one of those there to get more money to buy Cascade Rings, which are another important item. But for now, we're meeting Mel D'Alkirk. So Mia's mom, Jess's dad, Dine, the dead hero we met earlier, and Galleon were the four heroes of old. But let's sleep for a minute. Huh. It's kind of a foreboding dream, huh? Wow. That was creepy. Seems like there's some disturbance in the air here. Wonder what weirdly foreshadowed thing it could be about. At any rate, though, Galleon was one of the four heroes. He's the one that we find pretty much most active in this game. And they were kind of like... There were four heroes and four dragons. One of the four heroes became a dragon master, and they were the heroes and dragons and dragon masters that were out there ready to protect the goddess Althena. The goddess of the planet pretty much gives... I think in universe she gives all things life and all things magical power in this world. And, you know, that's pretty important. There's a pretty powerful goddess here on this planet, this world of Lunar. By the way, it's lunar, not lunar, even though I'm sure you'll hear me say lunar a million times, because I've said it that way my whole life, and kind of makes sense. Lunar is kind of weird sounding. But we're back, and look who's in our party! It's the level 98, I'm pretty sure. It might be level 99, Galleon. And boy, is this guy powerful. In this version of the game, we don't end up getting through any fights with him. We get into encounters and run away because there's not much of a way to avoid them. But in the Japanese version, we would use these random encounters to, as I said earlier, you can only get one level up from any experience event in the Japanese version. So in the Japanese version, we'd be using these battles and use Galleon to one-hit kill these enemies. And even though they give so little experience, because they're, level 1 enemies, every experience event would give Alex a level up at this part of the game. Because in the Japanese version of the run, his 2 next level would be sitting at 0 for hundreds more experience points. It's a funny, weird quirk. It's the main version difference between the two games, and it's kind of one of the biggest remaining mysteries in the game, because there are some things that make the Japanese version faster, like text boxes. There are definitely a few text boxes shorter here and there in the Japanese version. There are definitely enemies that have higher HP values in the English version, which would cost more time in that version. But you have to do a few different level up grinds in the Japanese version. So, is the Japanese or English version quicker? We're still not sure. So Galleon there, funnily enough, is saying, hey, I was thinking, if these dragons and stuff are so powerful, why did they just let the Dragon Master die when he had to fight against the crazed Black Dragon earlier? Why didn't they step in?
Yes, dear Quark. And if not for you, he would still be alive. A part of me died that black day. But now, dear friend, things are changing again. I'll soon rule the world. But first, you have to die!
Galleon, what are you doing?
Now that that's taken care of, only the goddess Althena stands in my way. Soon, the whole world will be mine!
Listen carefully, young Alex.
The twist. The
twist,
twist, guys.
You see, once
Galleon was a secret bad guy.
To attack from Galleon.
It turned out that the White Dragon went into hiding in this small Caldor Isle location. Galleon couldn't track him down. The Vile tribe couldn't track him down. But Alex led Galleon right to him, and Galleon took him out. Now the Black Dragon in-universe was already dead, died in a death battle against the old Dragon Master Dyne. Since then, the Red and the Blue Dragons have also fallen. I'm not sure if it's ever explained how, but now the White Dragon falls at the hands of Galleon. And now the only hope is for Alex to become the Dragon Master. So, he starts getting the blessings of the dragons in the forms of the dragon equipment. We just got White Dragon's wings. And now we've got to gear up, because we know we've got a crazy battle coming. One of the toughest battles in the English run of the game. We just call it Vile Tribe 2. But it's a pretty hefty battle. It's a 6-on-1. And it's at the springs. where we first met up with Luna. Definitely want to have a safety save there. Here we go. Zenobia's back. They've got Luna. And now they're going to get Alex because it's 6-on-1. So we do the old try to flee into the corner thing. But now we have the first dragon spell of the game, Dragon Bolt. It's a pretty powerful spell, but will it be enough? We're also loaded up with healing items and MP healing items because we know we're going to be taking a lot of damage in this battle as it's a 6-on-1. We keep on Dragon Bolting as much as we can. Try to stay alive because they're all still alive. And since we fled into a corner, we've got a good shot here staying alive. We gotta keep healing our MP because we can only get one Dragon Bolt off at a time with such a low level here. But if turn order is good to us, then it shouldn't be that big of a problem. Unfortunately, turn order was not good to us. And we die. But I guess that's what safety saves are for, right? But honestly, there shouldn't be too many. Any decent run could run into one or two. But it's all about turn order, like I was saying earlier. There's just simply... speed is what speed is, and RNG is what RNG is. If you have the highest speed in your party or in between your party and the enemy mob, that does not mean that you're going to be going first, and it definitely doesn't mean you're going to be going first every round. If you pay close attention, you'll see that all of these enemies go completely differently. Like, sure, the gargoyles, the gray enemies, have a higher chance of going first as opposed to the pipers, but it's still not consistent even between them. Some rounds Alex will go first. Some rounds Alex will go last. So in these 1 versus X battles, it's all just, it's safety save city. There's no such thing as marathon safe. But we're not going to be losing any more than maybe 2.5 minutes, and that's with 2 deaths. So you could still world record at this point with a couple deaths in your run. So it really doesn't cost you too much as long as you don't get cocky and go headlong into these battles without any safety saves. Now, it looks like a dire situation here, but it's not. That's the thing. You have to be ready for all these kind of battles. It's just part of the game. Plus, that really helps. When you get knocked fully into the corner and surrounded by pipers, you have a much better chance of surviving. That happens very, very consistently in the Japanese version, but here in the English version, it really is just an RNG crapshoot. That being said, though, we know the tactics, and you don't run all over the place like you would in the Bronze Dogs encounter. So, there we go. We're through the battle with 99 HP left, too. So it's very random. It is what it is, but Zenobia got away with Luna, even after all that. But now the White Dragon's wings are active. So let's warp to the city of Maribia, check out how things are going there. Oh. Well, so much for that amazing town theme we heard earlier. Now they have that creepy dungeon theme. So something has gone awry here in the big city of Maribia. We're gonna go through Mel's mansion. I guess you could consider this one of the dungeons that you have to memorize forwards and backwards. Because boy, is this like, look, there's a courtroom. There's a courtroom in this dude's house. Like, what is that about? This guy has more rooms than, frankly, anyone else in the game. And we have to go through here 2 different times. And look, a lot of good these rooms are going to do him when he's stuck, turned to stone here in his gigantic anteroom. Anyway, turns out Zenobia was also the one that came here and turned him to stone. See, Galleon was thinking ahead. Not only did he get the Vile tribe on his side with the powerful magician Zenobia, who can teleport people and turn people to stone, and he got rid of the dragons that he could get access to, and then he started going after the other 4 heroes of old. He was a great tactician, honestly. Very solid plan to take over the world. And now we're off to Vane, because, you know, we actually have a call to adventure now. Before we were just kind of going for the money, going for the magic, going for Galleon, funnily enough. But now we're actually going after Galleon, and we're going to try to save the world. And more than that, we got to get Luna back. Because we'll see as the story progresses a little bit. The next thing he's doing is he's kidnapping all of the great songstresses of the world, all the great singers. Because it turns out the goddess Althena has actually reincarnated as a human female, and we don't know what she looks like. But we do know that she is the world's best singer, or very, very, very good singer at any rate. So I guess we can rule out the English voice actress of Luna because she didn't sing, right? Little joke there for the fans. But yeah, so they're going around kidnapping all the best singers in the world, hoping to get the goddess with them. So the 4 heroes are gone, the Dragon Master is gone, the 4 dragons are gone, and they're trying to get their clutches on that final piece to rule the world, the goddess herself. But yeah, we just got Kyle. We just got Kyle in our group. Kyle is his English name. His Japanese name is Killy. Killy, because he sure is pretty killy. He's a very good party member. And we got his permission to go through this gigantic cave called the Nanza Barrier. And we saved and quit there, not to necessarily re-roll the RNG for enemy encounters, but watch this. Wow, why did I just stop there? So this is a little thing that I came up with called the Nanza Barrier skip. So save and quitting really, really does help us plummet the random encounters for at least a little while when we start the game back up. But there's usually going to be an encounter where I stopped. And don't ask me how it works, or why it works, but I can tell you that with a certain audio cue that I used, it will always work. At least at part 1 there. Part 2 is a little scary. So, since we stopped there and waited for that audio cue in the song, we were able to skip that one battle we would have gotten, even though we save and quit. And the reason we're really, really eager to skip random battles here is because there are enemies in here that can put our party to sleep. So at that point, they can cost us 3 rounds of fighting if we get unlucky, and that's per battle. So here's part 2. Part 2 of Nan's Barrier Skip. It's pretty tight. We have to wait a little longer. And by here, if there's not a battle, we got it. So I'm not exactly sure why that sort of skip works there, but I am sure that it will work there, as long as we wait for that audio cue and we do it in the right place. So now, we can go through the whole of the Nanza Barrier. We will cost ourselves 1 minute and 10 seconds with saves and quits, and maybe 8 seconds more of waiting, but we'll be able to blast right through with 0 encounters, 0 chance of our party getting put to sleep, and only a little bit of beats per minute raised to our hearts, because it is a fairly technical skip to pull off, but it's fairly simple at the same time. Do a quick little pop in to the village of Iluk there, so we can warp quickly there later, because we're off to Reza, one of the coolest towns in the game. Reza, as Vane is the city of mages, Reza is the city of thieves. And funnily enough, we won't encounter him in our playthrough, but Dross, the thief jeweler from Maribia, now lives in Reza. And you'll see there, what actually happened is we got our dragon wings stolen, and that would be a gigantic issue. That would pretty much mean we can't complete the game if we can't get them back. So we track down the thief. He's in the Thieves' Bazaar, though, which only thieves are allowed to get into. So we need that Thieves' Crest from the locked chest. So if we can unlock it, it proves that we're a thief. But actually, all we did was we had Kyle smash it until it opened with his sword. But I guess that's kind of like a rogue thing, you know? We also equipped our harp now, so if we didn't get that treasure, like we wouldn't in a normally well-played run, our white dragon wings would fall right back into the top slot in our items. See, we only got 1 cascade ring there. The new meta in the run nets us 6 cascade rings. And cascade rings, when used in battle, raise your entire party's attack by 30 attack points, which is pretty significant. We'll want as many as we can get for bosses as we can get. And this is the guy we bypassed in the Weird Woods, but now we meet him. His name is Lakey. Or Lake. I don't even know how to pronounce that name, honestly, after all these years. So as you can see, I got the nut in the wrong order. So the nut is at the top spot. I'm going to take a minute here to actually use it up, and then we can quickly equip and quickly de-equip the wings to get them in slot number 1. That's going to save us time later on. We'll be using the wings a lot. So those nuts that we find are actually permanent stat boost items. They're also worth 1,000 silver each, so it's kind of a double bam bam sort of situation, as Nal would say. And some people warp out of this town instead of walking, but I think there's no time save to be had there. We'll see time save with that a little later. But here we are, the desert. To the most, some would say, the most important manip in the game. It's funny, it works the same way in the Japanese and the English versions, but since you get here at a higher level in the English version, you actually have to reverse how the manip works. It still works the exact same way, but you'll see. I'll walk you through it here. Of course, we save and quit to get the exact battle we want to start off when we come back. We need a random drop, and it's not that nice. It's treated me really rudely in the past, so we have to do it exact. In the English version, Alex attacks the top enemy, everyone else but Kyle runs, Kyle attacks the bottom enemy. You repeat that the next rounds, and then the final round, Kyle runs and Alex finishes off the final enemy, and we will get that random drop we need to progress the game, the giant root. First try, every time. Boom, giant root gained from combat. And there, we get the giant root. So the next thing we're trying to do is we're trying to get this inventor to make us a hot air balloon with this giant root. And this hot air balloon will in theory be able to take us to the next place we need to go, the Red Dragon Cave. And also, there's this kind of clairvoyant in that same area named Damon. And we're kind of trying to do a double bam bam sort of situation where we go get the dragon equipment from the Red Dragon Cave you see below. And at that same time we go to Damon's Spire. And Damon will be able to tell us where Zenobia is going to show up next. Because if we get to where Zenobia is going next, then we know we'll be able to stop her in her tracks and really save the day. You know, a little foreshadowing there. And, of course, it is not that simple. Why did we even bother getting the giant root? Because we're going down. We crash land in Reza. And, you know, City of Thieves, not letting anything go to waste. You'll notice later on in the game, they actually take the remains of the hot air balloon and they start to piece it apart and sell it in the Thieves' Bazaar. So for now, we have to find a different way to get to Damon's Spire and the Red Dragon Cave. So we go to the village of Muriad. And in Muriad, things aren't built very strong. In fact, they kind of fall apart. So we all get washed away to different parts of the city. And Alex ends up with Null, his trusty flying cat. And we have to regather the party, you know, for clear, non-padding reasons. And you'll notice this guy with blue hair here. He's very easy to miss. You have to trigger him in a very specific way or he won't be in the bar at this part of the game. But we know how to do it, and since we do, he'll be able to tell us, you know, there is a different way to get to Damon's Spire, and you'll never believe what it is. There's this seafaring, sure, let's say vehicle, that's down southwest of Reza. But you're going to have to play some beautiful music in order to get its engine running. So, you know, how do you treat random blue-haired people that you meet in a bar that tell you stories like that? You trust them wholeheartedly. So now we're off to listen to that guy, and we're going down, and we're playing our harp on the shores. Wow. It's a giant sea turtle! Alright. We haven't seen such a helpful animal creature as a vehicle since the lunar whale in Final Fantasy IV. Oh, you gotta dig it. Talking about hitting the high seas in style, am I right? Alright. Well, he knew exactly where to go somehow, and now we not only land at Damon Spire, we give ourselves a little bridge between Damon Spire and the Red Dragon Cave. We'll hit that back up later. This part of the game is a really, really long dungeon, and even the entryway can get a little long if you get the wrong random encounters. You can encounter 8 wyverns here, and even though the wyverns aren't quite flying enemies, they seem to almost always go first. Now, in order to go to the top, you need to go to the bottom. First, you need to hit up the basement in Damon Spire, because all the way down in the deepest corner of the basement is the key you need to get all the way to the highest point of this place, this spire. And see that treasure chest there up on the second part of this map? You can actually try to open it from the bottom level. And there's this thing in this game I call free walking, where if you get, like, watch this. Well, that wasn't a great example actually, but if you get within 6 or 7-ish steps of something, whether it be a treasure chest, a switch, or an NPC, and most of the time you have to be actually facing them, not always though, and you hit the confirm button, you'll pathfind directly to that confirmation point, whether it be a treasure chest or switch. So even though you're on the first level, with that treasure chest I was just referring to, if you try to free walk near it, it will try to pathfind its way up there, but you won't be able to do it. So you'll just kind of like wiggle around for a second, and that's a really good example of the free walk. And maybe it'd be something to show during a run, if you so choose, you know. It'll only take a second. But there, we did what we had to. We moved all the way down to the bottom left corner of Damon Spire. Now we gotta flip a couple more switches and head our way back to the ground floor, as it were, of Damon Spire. Pretty low encounter rate, which is very nice. And here's a new addition to the run. I didn't used to do this, but boom, another hidden chest. That's one of the very seldomly heard about ones. Really weird and off-center. I found 3 here in Damon Spire. We'll get all 3 of them. Here's the second one. I got 2 fairly middle-range MP healing items there too. There's that 3rd secret item. So we do get a lot of treasures here in Damon Spire for it being, once we get out of the basement, for it being such a quick trip. And so now we know that next Zenobia is targeting somebody in Reza. The original world record actually went straight to Reza from Damon Spire, but that you don't really have to do that. I guess it pretty much doesn't cost any time to go do that right now. It does cost, honestly, like 2, maybe 3 seconds or something, because you'd have to warp back to Damon Spire. But we don't go straight to Reza after Damon Spire anymore. It actually doesn't matter what order you play either Damon Spire or Red Dragon Cave in, unless you're like speed running, because you don't want to have to warp backwards when you don't need to. But you'll see I did another save and quit there. With really, really tight step count, we can only encounter 1 enemy in the Red Dragon Cave. There is actually our 4th and final mandatory random battle towards the end of this. Funnily enough, they don't have a boss at the end of Red Dragon Cave, though. I don't know why it ended up being like that, but yeah, this is a big, long cave where there's no boss at the end. That happens a couple times in this game, but I gotta say, especially with a random battle being programmed at the end of this cave, it just seems so strange to me that there's not a boss here. I mean, you couldn't throw in like a fire slime or something? It just seems like there should be a boss right here instead of these guys. Unfortunately though, these guys cast sleep. So, in theory, we could run away right immediately if we were lucky with turn order, but that didn't happen in this run. So the new meta here is there is a book in that library we passed through in Damon Spire that will give you a full MP and HP heal. And we use that now so we can have enough MP to have Alex just nuke these guys right away with Dragon Ball. And it would have saved, 3 rounds of sleep combat there. But yeah, that's the boss we have, per se, in the Red Dragon Cave. And now we will go up the stairs and be confronted with the spirit of the Red Dragon, who fell at some point. Doesn't really say how or why. I guess we can assume either Zenobia or Galleon did it. But, guess we'll just have to assume. Unless somebody else knows better, I'm pretty sure they never explain how the Red Dragon died, or faded away, as it were. So, if we were very lucky, this would be the last full party dungeon here that we had to use a wind essence to warp out. There'll be one more dungeon a little later, but it's not a full party dungeon that we use a warp item to get out of too. But as I said way earlier, the magic acquisition has an element of RNG to it. So even if we get to the level we're supposed to get our warp spell in time for when we need to use it, oh, here comes another secret item. Yep. And that's actually Dross's shop that we just got that in front of. Even if we get the levels we need in time for that warp spell, we might not get it. Alright, we caught Zenobia. Let's stop. Oh. Oh boy. We kind of just stood there and let her take the girl. Like, just let her... Why didn't we stop her? I don't get that part. We didn't even... Maybe we could have fought her? And I don't know. But yeah. Another girl kidnapped. 5 heroes just standing by. Alright, well, now the bridge is repaired at least. Maybe the woodcutter from earlier came out. That's 2 bridges we got repaired. Just call us construction management team. And what do you know? More sleep enemies. I guess they're freeze enemies, not sleep. Same thing though. Did you just see? We just bypassed 2 different places in the map. So the first one we went by was a bath. There are like optional bath houses that you can go into. One is for the males in the party, one is for the females in the party. And you can get an optional cutscene if you bring the optional item soap to the bathhouses. So, yeah, that sure is horny. At any rate, we're bypassing them in this speedrun though. The second one was a transmission spring like we saw in Vane, but this one has been dry for a long time. There doesn't seem to be a way to activate that transmission spring, at least for now. This part of the game has a lot of random encounters that take a while, but it's bordering on the point where save and quitting wouldn't actually save time regardless. So now is the first time we warp out of a village instead of walking all the way out. That'll save a second, maybe two. It doesn't work on very many parts of the game, but that's one of them it does work on. And that lady actually, she unsealed this part of the world. All those stones that we just walked across were sunken before, let's say. So that lady sung her little song when she saw that Alex had green eyes, because apparently that's a thing. I think that might be only in the English version as well, that Dragon Masters all have green eyes. I'm pretty sure I read that on Cutting Room Floor. But another weird thing in the version differences, and it kind of makes a lot of sense, you'll see much later. In the Japanese version, there's no mention of this, but in the English version it mentions that there can only be one Dragon Master at a time in the world. Which, I mean, it's kinda not true, but yeah, it's just weird that they added new bits of lore that weren't canon in the English version of the game. And unless you really, really dig into the lore of this world, you'd never know that. So here's the first real offload of our items. You could see, even in some runs, especially once we pick up multiple cascade rings in the new meta of this game, we fill up our items. They get completely full. And if you get any more after that, you'll have to drop an item. And we don't ever want to have to run into that. Maybe once to get rid of really useless items, but I mean, we want all the items we get because they're worth money and we need them because there's some crit shopping later. And if we're not selling them, we're using them. So this is Brainiac. He's a big brain. Yak. It took me probably like 100 playthroughs of this game to realize he had hands and legs. I thought he was just like a big brain stem. But if you take a real close look, you'll notice he's some floating humanoid, just with a brain, back, and neck, and head. I don't know why he has such a big brain, because he's not particularly smart or anything. But he is very dangerous. He's cost me runs before. As always, you want to throw up a safety save before here. And he's the first boss in a while. So it's nice to get back into the battle screen. But you'll notice in this run, I actually forgot to feed Kyle all of the stat boost items before this battle. I didn't do that on purpose. It's not something I would do in a, optimized playthrough of this game. But luckily it didn't actually cost us too much. It clearly cost us maybe 1 or 2 attacks more to beat him, but it ended up working out fine, as you'll see in a few minutes. That Thunder Thumper spell, it's a strange spell that will paralyze certain enemies and certain bosses sometimes. The only problem is you can't tell if it works. The only way you can tell if it works is if you get through a full round and the enemy didn't attack. There's no visual cue or anything to tell you that it's going to work. So you just cast it and hope it works, and it's not consistent. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it misses, but if it hits, it's usually very beneficial. As you can see, it didn't work the last round, but it worked the round before that. Look at that! We won. Kyle survived with 3 HP too. A lot of the time we want other characters to die so Alex gets more experience. And we want Mia to get enough levels up that she gets her warp spell right when we get this next piece of equipment here. But Kyle is a very great party member too, so we're not going to be too annoyed that he got extra levels up there. And Flame Bomb. No Psychotron. Psychotron's our warp spell. So Zenobia shows up and tells Nash to grab that dragon helm. So he does it, and they leave. So Nash was a traitor. Wow. I mean, he was kind of haughty and he had a weird hairstyle, but I wouldn't say I thought he was going to be a traitor, you know? That's pretty unfortunate. Oh, and see, now I remembered that I didn't do this beforehand, so I do it now with the stat boost items. But not all the stat boost items. Like I was saying, if we're not using them, we're selling them. So I give all of the stat boost items that we use, which are only the attack and only the defense items, to Kyle. There is a reason for that. We don't use the speed up or the magic up items though, because we'd rather just sell those for the 1,000 gilded. The 1,000 silver they're worth. Sorry, Final Fantasy crept into my head for a second there. Warp back to Lighton, and we're off to the village of Tamer for a cool little, like, I guess some would say mid-game interlude. It's a little past the mid-game, but it's just us and old Lakey. Or Like. The name's not really important, honestly. So here's something that I realized. Not only can you trigger this scene by talking to Fresca, which wasn't the big realization, but you want to do this scene before you leave the village. Because everybody else used to do it when they come back to the village later, but if you do it before you leave, you end up saving yourself like 4 extra steps. Maybe 8, because you go down and then back up. But you are closer to them before you leave the city than when you come back. Just the little teeny optimizations that really, they're not worth too much, but they're worth just some. And the prettier and faster you can make a run, the closer it gets to perfection, you know? And speaking of which, we have to be pretty perfect when it comes to Might's lab. First, we're going to want to strip Lakey, because, I mean, he's level 60. He doesn't need that stuff, honestly. He could probably beat these enemies without an attack weapon at all. But what I meant by we have to be pretty perfect is the step count after this save and quit in this dungeon is very, very close to perfect. We might have 8 extra steps that we could take. We don't have to worry about wall bumping too much because in this dungeon it's all flat walls. So we're not going to get the 2 steps per 1 step sort of thing we get with curved walls and flat and wall bumping. But this is, you know, you've been watching maybe the 8th, maybe the 10th dungeon in this game. So if you're expecting to memorize all of this cold, that you know every twist and turn of every one of these dungeons, honestly, that's more memorization power than I was able to commit to this run. So I do use maps as I go through. If I really had to, I could grind and memorize a little bit better. But, you know, when we're talking about saving 10 seconds of hesitation throughout a 3-hour run, it's just not worth my time to really completely memorize the entire game. But, you know, maybe I'll get there. You know, the more I play, the more I route, the more I figure things out, the more exposure I have. I've gotten, let's say, 80% of these dungeons completely memorized. And by completely memorized, I mean I memorize just the path that I take, because I don't have to memorize all of these dungeons completely, just the path that I take. Now, you'll see me hesitate here and in the final dungeon probably most of all, because I just simply don't want to go the wrong way. And I made it all the way through there, maybe lost 5 seconds to hesitation. This one I could probably memorize a little more, but the map is pretty crazy. You loop all over the place. You loop up, you loop down, you loop left, you loop right. But we made it. We made it without a single encounter, which is what counts. And you know, believe it or not, that's actually all the time we have with Lakey in our party. And I know what you're wondering. Why didn't I just use the white dragon wings to get back to Tamer? Because if you try to, Lake doesn't let you. He's like, hey, you're a strapping young lad. Why don't we walk? And so we do. So let's rejoin our party. Oh, isn't that sad piano theme? We've got an injured Nash limping back in. And I wasn't able to understand the nuance of what he was saying here when I first played the game as like a 7 or 8 year old. I always hated Nash for years and years, thinking he was a cold-blooded traitor. But he wasn't a traitor. He was a double crosser for the bad guys. He actually went with Zenobia in order to find out how to get to where they were from, a place called the Frontier. So he kind of secret double agented his way into Zenobia's cloister in the Frontier, got the blue dragon helmet back, some secret treasures there for you, and he made it back to the party after being attacked by Zenobia. He survived a one-on-one battle with her apparently, and he redelivered us the dragon helm. So now we're in the village of Pau, but Pau has this weird plague going on. And as you hear about it, Mia, whether it be psychological or not, goes down with that plague. And we are off to find a cure. Fetch quest number, 5 of the game? This one's actually a pretty cool fetch quest, though. This is another one of those, like, just like Lake in the last little bit, this is another like mid-game interlude guest party member side quest. And this is a brutal dungeon. Very brutal. It actually might be worth finding save and quit strats for this dungeon, because not only do the enemies hit, you saw, some of them hit for over 100 damage in one hit here. But this guy casts sleep. And not only does he well, I guess freeze, I don't know. Not only does he cast that, he can do it over and over, and he won't come attack. So it'll just make you sleep and sleep and sleep and sleep until you get to run away. It's a funny little bit of programming, to be sure. But we made it away from that one, so that's great. And we picked up the Pixie Bow and the Pixie Whip in this dungeon. And while the Pixie Whip will only benefit us for just this dungeon, the Pixie Bow will benefit Nash for the rest of this game. And funnily enough, a quirk of programming for the Pixie Bow and items like it, ranged weapons specifically, I think whips are included with ranged weapons, is they don't increase your attack power. They set it to a certain amount. So even at like level 1, Nash would be, I think it's like 168 attack power if you equip that pixie bow. Just a weird little programming quirk. Something to digest here. So since we didn't get Psychotron in time with Mia, we have to go over here and get that wind essence. I mentioned it earlier, this isn't a full party dungeon, but this is actually the final dungeon. Oh no, that's not true. Black Dragon 1. Actually, all the Black Dragon dungeons need warp outs, but this is the final dungeon that we're gonna deal with where we need an item to warp out of it. So we could have bought an extra wind essence earlier, but I'd rather save the money, cost myself that, 7-8 seconds it takes to go up and grab it. But in a perfect world, we would have got Psychotron in time to warp out of the Blue Dragon Cave, but that only happens like 33% of the time, let's say, because of that random magic acquisition thing. You might be lucky and get it, especially if you're grinding for the giant root without the giant root manip. Oh, and here's the third weapon of the dungeon, the Insane Sword. The best sword for Kyle. A must-have, for sure. Even if you skip the bow and the whip, you need to get that sword for Kyle. But we like to get all three, because there is a boss here. It's not the toughest boss, but he is a lot tougher in the English version than in the Japanese version. In the Japanese version, honestly, it's a 2-round battle that's a laugh riot. You just smash this dude. But he has a lot more HP in the American version. I should say the English version. And, that doesn't make him tough, though. As you can see, he just burned his first turn by walking. He has a very short walk range, and he only does physical attacks. So, he falls pretty easily, but he can attack 4 times in a round, which could pose a threat in theory if you didn't equip yourself correctly, but it's not that big of a deal. We could have also put a better weapon on Alex for this battle, but this battle's over so quickly that it really isn't. It might save 1 attack overall. Yeah, I mean, that was pretty quick. Less than 3 rounds. So let's de-equip that pixie whip and the armor. We'll use that for some money later. Use that final wind essence we're going to use, and then we'll get back to POW. Hopefully people aren't too sick. We had to go grab that Althena's seal, as it were, in the, I guess it's called Grismold's Cave. There's some, I won't get into all that, that doesn't really make sense, but that is what it's called. Also, that boss is called Inca God, so apparently the Incans are a race in this world too, which is, I guess I won't get into that either. But we had what we needed to cure everybody, and as a reward, they'll draw from their well for us, and we'll get, you remember how I mentioned that dry transmission spring outside of Marriott earlier? Well, now we have a pitcher full of water. But this is the Mirage water, so even a pitcher is enough to fill up a gigantic transmission spring. Because it's, I don't know, it's Mirage water. What do you want from me? I don't know. It's just what the game says. But it is pretty funny. When you pour in, honestly, it's a pitcher graphic. You pour in a pitcher and look at how much. Like 200 gallons. So we're off to the dark cave, because you didn't think we were just gonna transport straight somewhere. I mean, we learned better from the transmission spring in vain. We go to the Dark Cave, which is... It's very reminiscent of the Red Dragon Cave, honestly, because it's a lot of like rights and lefts and rights and lefts and very few battles, and then you're done. This is and just like the Red Dragon Cave, this is a longish cave with no boss at the end. You just walk out. There's really nothing at the end. There's a holy flute that we'll grab, but very uneventful cave. Luckily, pretty low encounter rate, so we're already done with it. Welcome to the Frontier. The Frontier is a place in the world where the light of Althena does not shine. It was kind of like the place where Althena sent all the bad people back in the day. And that's why people like Zenobia are on such a passionate mission to make right what was wrong in their opinion. So, yeah, you'll notice we just bypassed a town. That's the city of Kadin, or Kadin. We never have to go there. There's the final shop that you can find in the game, more or less. There is one more, we'll see later. There's a secret item that's hidden in that town, one of the stat boost items, but there's no reason to go there. It'll give you access to Black Dragon Cave 1 and Dark Cave if you wanted to warp back there, but we don't ever have to directly access those places again. So we just walk by Kadin and go right to Black Dragon Cave 1. There are 2 Black Dragon Caves, and there is a story to that. And for some reason it has to do with the gigantic gash that we passed through between Pau and Lighten. There was a death battle I mentioned earlier between Dragon Master Dine and between the Black Dragon when he went crazy, I guess. I don't really know why that happened, but that's the storyline. And not only did they make that gigantic rift in between those 2 towns, I guess it also somehow cut the Black Dragon Cave in 2. So there's a Kadin side of the Black Dragon Cave, and there's a Mark side of the Black Dragon Cave, and Mark is the final town we'll encounter a little bit later. But here, funnily enough, is another one of those caves where there's just a random NPC in it, and this dude's like, "Yo, I've been waiting for you. You're a hero, right?" And you're like, "Yeah, totally." So he gives you the hero's crest. And there's the Psychotron spell, and it's a good time for it because we're going to use it right now. And beyond that, we just picked up Dine's sword, which is a very good sword for Alex. Not quite the best, but close to it. And it is the sword of the fallen hero Dine. Very cool. Very cool. I always really dug that as a kid growing up, that you ended up getting your hero's sword late in this game. And it makes sense. I mean, I don't know how it got... I guess that guy standing in the cave put it in the treasure chest, but if that's where Dine fell, it makes sense. So we're doing another quick save and quit here in order to rejigger the random encounter table and get a couple less battles because we got a lot of walking to do between now and the next boss encounter. We're walking across the dangerous paths here in the broken up area. I guess it's really not a swamp, but I guess it's like more of a, I don't know, sunken lake with some land bridges across it. One of the most interesting geographical places in the game, really. You can't quite find a really good path to walk across it. You kind of gotta bump around and stuff. But there's that nice blue water. And here we are at Talon, or in this game, Talon Mine. So this is a town. We didn't quite get into the storyline earlier because kind of we skip around and don't get to see everything in the speedrun route. But if we would have went to Berg after Luna got kidnapped, or even right before Luna got kidnapped, we would see that our village was cleared out. And there's actually a kind of an optional boss encounter there where if you go up to your parents that are the only people left in the village, they're actually a gargoyle and a piper, and it's a Vile Tribe 1.5 boss battle if you follow what I'm saying. But so they took all of your villagers, including your mother and father, and brought them here to this mine to, as Zenobia so nicely put it, work them to death. So, knowing that she said that to us earlier, that's the fate that's going to befall the people in Talon Mine, to be worked to death, honestly. She said that word for word. Oh, and so the new meta here is... It didn't happen in this run because it's very new to the route. There are some, it's not also fully understood, but instead of save and quitting here, you can actually cast any heal spell. And that will move the encounter table just enough, if you're close enough to where you're going to encounter that encounter. It'll move that table ahead just enough that you'll skip that encounter. So that's like the big brain part of the route that's coming up in the newer versions of the any percent route. But as I was saying, here are your mother and father. Let's just leave them where they are, because we're busy. We gotta get on to things, and if they gotta be worked to death in the meantime, I guess that's just the fate that's gonna befall them, unfortunately. We're on to the next, you know what I'm saying? We're heroes, but we're on the clock here. And we don't have time for a nice reunion. Coming up here, we're winding our ways through this mine path, and right there's that's Ramus's family. Ramus's dad. Or granddad, as it were. I don't actually remember if it was his father that lived with him or not. But yeah, that's Ramus's family. We're just leaving to be worked to death. And if you're really perceptive, you will notice, there are all the villagers of Berg here. And this is one of the funniest bosses in the game. This guy is Wolf Captain, and he's just there for the paycheck. He is guarding the exit to the mine, but he's like, come on, bro. I'm just guarding this mine here. Let's be civil to each other. We don't want to fight. So you actually have to talk to him twice to start the fight. He honestly is like, listen, man, you're not going to get by me. Just don't bother. And then you're like, nah, I'm probably going to bother. And then he's like, alright, man. It is what it is. Let's duke it out. You got this. I got this. Let's go for it. And this is actually funnily enough, the only boss gauntlet in the game. We take on Wolf Captain and 3 of his soldiers. Don't those soldiers look so cute? So we take them on first. And this is the only part of the game where you end up not being able to menu directly after the boss and going right into another boss battle. And this Wolf Captain hits really hard, and since it's a boss gauntlet, you don't get to heal in between, so it can get pretty dangerous, because not only does he hit really hard, you saw he hit Alex there, and while he hit Alex first, he'll tend to hit Alex the second time too. You can't anticipate who he's going to hit the first round. As a matter of fact, my last playthrough, he went after Kyle instead. So, another big RNG point. So you can see we got unlucky, and Alex ended up finishing this battle in critical. And now we have to fight Dragon Tank. So let's just hope that it all works out. That's why we brought the Vigor Peach on Kyle. So hopefully we can get that off before Dragon Tank attacks. And it looks like we did. Excellent. A lot of RNG. The turn order in this really dictates if it's going to be a good battle or a bad battle. But if you get past the first round here, you tend to surround Dragon Tank with Jess, Alex, and Kyle. And then, since he only attacks 3 times in a round, you're pretty safe as long as you stay healed. He's also vulnerable to Thunder Thumper, so he can be frozen when you get lucky. But it's honestly not that long of a battle. So we just keep bashing away, and if we're lucky, we'll have an extra Cascade Ring at this point too, and that'll increase everybody's attack and make it a little quicker. In the new meta, we'll have 5 or 6 instead of the 1 we had in this run. So you can look forward to quicker battles, but you're still gonna be dealing with that, will he kill Kyle first turn, will he kill Alex first turn, or will we make it through no problem? And it's just, that's the thing. There's no such thing as a marathon safe route in this game, but luckily we're never losing more than 2 minutes to a death. So it is pretty much marathon safe regardless. And there we go. You'll see Jess got the spell Cascade Litany, which is awesome. It's not quite as strong as the Cascade Ring, but it is a spell we can use for Jess when she doesn't need to heal. That'll pump our attack up. And you'll notice that our mage, Mia, has been casting Deep Protect almost exclusively in boss battles. You'd think the black mage of the group would be casting black magic, but she doesn't. She actually is much more useful debuffing every boss. With the amount of attacks you get off between Kyle and Alex and Nash, it's almost always more beneficial to debuff an enemy's defense than to attack with Mia. Mia's really heavy attack black magics don't appear until late game. We pretty much don't even get them in a speed run of the game. And we got a new weapon and a new armor for Jess, which, especially in the Japanese version, the armor pretty much doesn't matter at all. But we do end up using the Saints clothes we just picked up for Jess in the American version. The final bosses in the English version are... They don't have higher attack power. One of them does, the one in this dungeon actually, but they have a lot more HP, which makes them live longer and get more attacks off. So having Saint clothes on Jess for the rest of this run, pretty helpful. In the Japanese run, we used to actually not even get Kyle's big final armor too, but now we do, because it does take an extra bit of time, but with save and quit strats, it pretty much is free. And look, you'll see, we can see the Black Dragon Cave 1 over there on the left as we pass by. And that old man's still there, even though his life's duty is fulfilled. I can't tell you why he's still sitting in that cave. Maybe he's institutionalized sort of thing. But it's no different from the people wandering the Cave of Trials earlier. Excuse me. It's no different from the people in the Cave of Trials earlier. There's actually one NPC that's like, I know I'm on the right track. I'm almost to the end. I've been wandering this cave for years. And you know, it begs the question, what have you been eating and drinking, men? And, you know, the other things. So this is actually the long path out of our way to get the insane armor. And like I said, with save and quit strats, it's pretty much free at this point. It doesn't cost us any extra time to go get it. So, of course, we're going to go get it. There's a very, very strange and untested quirk in this upcoming boss battle, where the full party magic attack from the boss just simply does not hit in the English version. I've had some talks with the former world record holder Holy Smith about it, and we had the theories that maybe it had to do with the attack going off right when the music looped and the game running out of RAM and not being able to calculate it all at the same time. And it turned out that wasn't what it was. There was a theory that it's because Kyle's wearing the insane armor that it happens. It turned out that wasn't the case. And then there was this theory I came up with that maybe it's Kyle's sidestep that's actually making the full party attack miss in a weird this battle only sort of programming. But even that's not it, because I've had it miss without sidestep even up. So I don't know. It seems like it just misses in this version of the game. But we're not going to look a gift horse in the mouth, because this is the only boss that not only has more HP in this version of the game than the Japanese version, it actually has a higher attack stat too. So any advantage we can get will definitely help us out. And it's a must-have, because this is definitely a tough boss battle. This is a lot like the dragon tank, though. If you have a good amount of healing, you're gonna be fine. If you can make it through the first round, you're gonna be fine. He's easier to kill in the Japanese version because of the stat block difference, but he's pretty tough when he can keep casting that full party magic attack on you over and over. And look who it is. Rise from your grave. It's the Black Dragon, kind of. Yeah, that's pretty gnarly, huh? That's one of the best cutscenes in the game. Also one of the best looking bosses in the game. Really, really good pixel art on this Black Dragon enemy. So, that's sidestep. And you'll see his first attack missed, his second attack hit. So sidestep dodges one attack. It's very useful in really intense boss fights. But it doesn't seem to be the thing that makes the full party magic attack miss. And you'll see when the dragon bends down and a breath attack comes out of its mouth, simply nothing happens. Because nothing happens. I can't explain it. It's not a glitch, because it happens like every time. Okay, so he didn't magic attack that round, but we will see it in this battle. And it's not a function of sidestep dodging it. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's one of the mysteries still remaining in this game. just can't get over how good this Black Dragon boss fight. He just looks awesome. Even all of his movements are really crisp. There it is. See? Nothing happens. Nothing. No damage. No hit. Just the animation. So as you can see, we have him pretty surrounded now. We've run out of side steps though, and it's just time to blast away at him. He's been deprotected all the way down to the base defense we can get him to, so we can actually switch over. See, look, no sidestep up. Oh, you know what, there was still a sidestep up though, because he must have attacked Kyle there and nothing happened. But trust me, in routing, I've seen it miss without sidestep active. But as I was saying earlier, we've been able to switch Mia to full stone, and I mean even Jess is hitting for 140 damage here. I was a little nervous about Alex dying here, so I didn't have him directly attack. See, and that was probably a good thing because Kyle went down that round. We got our heal off for Alex. And now, let's finish this Black Dragon off once and for all, for our buddy Dine, right? Jess with a killing blow. No experience for Kyle. What's this?
Very impressive, Alex. You just killed the only remaining means of becoming a Dragon Master. You're making this way too easy. Now the goddess is completely unprotected. She's mine to control. The world is my oyster!
So yeah, apparently Galleon was like tailing us off screen. They couldn't even animate a cutscene for that. But we're not going to fault them for it. There's been some pretty boss cutscenes lately. And anytime we have John Truitt's voice acting for Galleon, you gotta give it up. Finally, the armor of the Black Dragon, which reminds me, in the Japanese version, in all of those dragon equipment acquisition cutscenes, there's a jingle. It's not a dragon's roar like in this version. There's a musical jingle, but it's been cut in the American release, and I think it's because it sounds very similar to the item acquisition jingle from Legend of Zelda. That's just my theory, but go take a look at one of my Japanese runs or the Japanese long plays if there are any online, and I think you might agree that it was cut for a reason. And yeah, so that's one piece of music that we don't get in the English version of the game. No biggie. Go back to Mark, and we get the key to Ruid. And what is Ruid, you might ask? Well, it's the last kind of town. I said Mark was the last town because it is the last town. I mean, would you consider Talon Mine a town? I don't know if I would, but this is a long road. Very high enemy encounters. It's a short walk, honestly, but with the amount of encounters in this part of the overworld, it can take a while. Another good point for donations. There's like 14 save and quits in the game, and after every save and quit, there's some walking after. So any save and quit is fine for donations. You're gonna have at the very least 35 seconds, but I'm pretty sure every single save and quit has some walking to do after. So, you know, you definitely have a solid 20 minutes where you can get donations in during this 3-hour run. At the very least. I'm sure there's a bunch. I mean, I'm not going to be talking like this as I play through the game. This is just to give really good background to everything we're coming across. This is It's like director's commentary sort of deal I'm doing here. It's going to be much more dynamic, much more jokey. I'm actually going to have another person who's already agreed to be on my couch for this. I'll have them learn the game a little. I'll give them notes. They're obviously not going to be anybody like Scary Ice. I actually couldn't get in contact with Scary Ice, the original world record holder. That would have been a nice couch though. Scary Ice, me and Holy Smith, all the 3 world record holders. But yeah, so here we are. We're in Ruid. There's this crazy tower in the back of Ruid, as you can see with that cutscene. It's called Tabin's Tower. In later games, it's called Tabin's Peak. It's gonna have another name a little bit later in this game, but the main point is it's what they've been building with everything that they've been mining out of Talon Mine. This is the big. I kind of don't even want to spoil it yet, but it's a big metal monstrosity with a lot of moving parts that Galleon had the inventor Tabin make for him. We have the inventor Might on our side. We actually went to his place earlier with Lake, and we were like, hey, we need a flying machine because we're gonna eventually need Alex to get to the goddess's tower. And see, I had my items overflow a few times in this because of poor item management, but it is what it is. Not too big of a time loss. But so we have our inventor Might, that real tubey place that we went through with Lake. He's inventing a flying machine that actually works for us this time because that balloon did not work out. And in the meantime, Galleon had Tabin here in Ruid making his grindery. What a cool name for a place. This is the grindery. And it's pretty steampunk, for sure. It'll get even more steampunk when we see it a bit later. But for now, we found Tabin. We're like, yo dude, you need to stop making this. Galleon's a bad guy. And he's like, yeah, word. I mean, you can kind of tell. I mean, even his hero jingle was pitch shifted, you know what I mean? But Tabin is not just gonna stop making the grindery. As a matter of fact, it's pretty much done being made now. I guess you consider this a setup, because now we have to fight the night tanks. This battle can be pretty tough. They're another enemy that can only do physical attacks, but they can all attack 2 times in a round, so they can hit 6 times in 1 round. You did just get the dragon armor for Alex though, which is the craziest amount of defense you can have in the game. So, in theory, if you can get Alex positioned well, you don't have too much to worry about. But you can run into a turn order where Kyle is floating out in space and getting hit 6 times in round 1. And that's just awful when that happens. This is also another enemy that is vulnerable to Thunder Thumper. So it's very beneficial to stop them. Not only will it save you HP, it'll save you, if you hit them all, it'll save you 6 attack animations around. So that alone is worth it on a time save tip. And this is the only time in the normal portion of the game, let's say, where we use a Seed of Vigor. Seed of Vigors will give you full MP recovery. I actually ended up equipping them on Alex, a little ahead of myself there. It would usually be on, I think, Nash at this part. Maybe, no, it would actually end up being on Jess, because Nash is going to Thunder Thumper these guys all the time. But see, this is what we want. We want them all attacking Alex, because Alex can tank this battle. they only do like a ninth of his HP of damage each hit. So he can really stand up to some serious punishment. Probably even less now that I'm crunching the numbers in my head. But we'll still have to monitor his HP. I've almost lost a run here because, you know, in non-marathon settings, I wouldn't necessarily safety save before here because it's a fairly safe battle. Alright, so we're on to 2 of them left. That means we're pretty close to the end. I don't get how the 2 fall so quickly after the first one, since we are smashing the first one consistently, but there you have it. Thundershot 2 as well with Nash, which means Nash got a bunch of extra levels in this playthrough, which is cool. We don't usually need him very much, but, you know, he's a lot more helpful than I used to think he was, especially with Thundershot 2. If he doesn't get extra levels, he pretty much doesn't get Thundershot 2 until after we wouldn't be using it anymore anyway. But did you notice all of the rumblings right after we beat the night tanks? The grindery is moving. So I guess technically the grindery is not Tabin's Peak. It's just like kind of within Tabin's Peak, because Tabin's Peak is still here, but the grindery is on the move. But they're pretty similar looking. And you can see it in the cutscene. So, you know, splitting hairs, as it were. This is another dungeon. It would be really nice if we could warp out after we're done. But yet another dungeon where it won't let you warp, and you have to memorize it forwards and backwards. Luckily, this is very straightforward, as it were. Go left, go right, go left, go right. Kind of Silver Spire-y in that direction. But we're finally back down to the first floor, and normally you'd want to go straight to Talon Mine after this, but with this speedrun route, since we've been jamming our item box packed full of stuff, we're going to Lighten. And we're going to Lighten because Lighten is the... Oh, yeah, okay, I remember. I was a little confused on what to do here. So, the new meta, or the meta where... Yeah. See, my notes failed me here. I just remembered where I was right now. So I'm supposed to be going to Lighten. As I was saying, we're going to Lighten because Lighten is the place in the game that has a shop nearest to their warp point. And we go to Lighten because we've just been jamming our item box full of items that are worth a lot of money. Oh, you know what? Jeez, did I not even... Okay. I double remembered. So we're going to Lighten because we need to sell off all these items that we've been hoarding the whole game. And beyond that, we need to sell Jess's shield and, believe it or not, Dine's sword. It's definitely worth it selling Dine's sword. We don't need it anymore, surprisingly. You'll see why in a little bit. But look at all this money. We went from almost no money to all the money. Now we are actually a little low. Usually, especially now, the new meta we'd get over 56,000. And that is all for one reason. You'll notice Talon Mine's flattened, and it's got tracks coming off of it. Because that grindery. Very cool. Very cool. And who is that?
Now, Goddess Althena, heed my command. Turn your pure light to blazing fire and decimate all who oppose me!
Whoa. So, turns out Galleon has the goddess under his control. It worked. And he blew Vane out of the sky. And Luna is the goddess. Whoa, man. This game. It's got that storyline. And now, this is why we went and sold everything when we did. Because we wake up in the Thieves' Bazaar, and look at how long it takes for us to get out of the Thieves' Bazaar if we try to get out of there. We have to go not only throughout the full town, but 5 or 6 other screens to get back to that shop if we wake up there without the amount of money we need. So I actually rerouted the game so we wake up with the money in our pockets when we wake up in the Thieves' Bazaar. And we don't even... There's an exploit later in the game that is by design that we don't have to use anymore to get the money we need because of the items that we brought along with us being worth so much money. And wow, wouldn't you believe it? Lake is dying. That's what that little scene was. So the Dragon Master survived but lost all of his power and became Lake. He doesn't have the dragon magic anymore, but he is still level 60, so that should have tipped us off a little bit. But Zenobia is here to stop us, but here he comes. Dyne will stop her. Oh no, but he's turned to stone. But even still, he's able to reach out and hold her for that last few seconds to let us get away to the skies. And why are we going in a flying machine? Because that's the only way to reach the Goddess Tower. In the Goddess Tower, I know what you're thinking. First off, we got bashed really far away from the Goddess Tower. How the heck did we crash land directly on it? But I was going to say, I know you're probably expecting the goddess to be in the Goddess Tower, but that is not what the Goddess Tower is. The Goddess Tower is where we need to go to get the final piece of the Dragon Master's armor. And as a little pro tip, this is going to be another solo Alex battle, so we move him to the back of our party here. In this, the new meta has some save and quit strats here. But in this version, we move Alex to the back because if we're going to get smashed on our way to the boss, we just don't want Alex to be smashed. Let everybody else tank this. I love the music here. It's very fitting for it to be the theme of a Goddess Tower. I remember it was one of the first songs I learned on keyboard back when I found a keyboard. It's pretty much I found a keyboard that has this exact voice sound font on it, so I was like, oh, definitely got to learn the Goddess Tower theme. Very holy sounding, very regal. Dig it, dig it. This Goddess Tower also is like 80% the same as the blue spire from the beginning of Lunar 2 Eternal Blue. So I don't know if they're legitimately the same tower or not, but they sure do have a very similar layout. It's not exactly the same, but definitely in the same vein. And you'll notice now Alex has 201 MP. It's actually very important that Alex goes into this battle with at least 200 MP. The amount of MP you get on a level up is also RNG dependent, so you can end up with 199, which is not good. You need that 201 or 200. And you need everything I have equipped. Not everything. That final Vigor Peach was backup, but there are times that you will need it. You see, one of the Dragon Angels didn't attack me that round. If you are attacked every single round by both of the Dragon Angels, you do need all 3 of those healing items. But you'll see that's 3 attacks that I didn't get attacked with. So that's good RNG. You know, 4 or 5, that's really good. I could probably make it through this battle with only using 1 healing item. But we'll see how it goes. All you gotta do is you gotta keep... See, that's bad turn order. Every round, I'm pretty sure they went before me, except the round where I needed them to both go first to get the max out of my heal. But you want to just keep spamming Dragon Quake and keep your MP up. And I made a pretty smart choice healing there. Let's see if it would have killed... Yep, see, they would have killed me if I didn't heal there. And I went first this round now. That turn order RNG, man, it's weird. But we made it through. And I will ask you, is this Null's voice? Because turns out he's a white dragon.
Oh, you are indeed the brave one. You have proven the purity in your heart. Step forward and become your destiny, Dragon Master Alex.
Yeah, so that wasn't Quark's voice, right? Maybe it was one of the Dragon Angels? I don't know. Pretty important to talk to them after, too, for that full party heal. There just aren't any places to get full heals anymore between now and the end of the game. Without losing time, at least. But, yep, you guessed it. This is another one where we can't just warp out. I mean, I guess that makes sense. It is the goddess's tower. There's probably some, like, magic dampening in there or something. I don't know. Speaking of that, what the heck are these enemies? Am I right? Floating gold heads? Weird. I wish we could get more... If we were to fight enemies here, those statues, the spear-carrying statues, they have like a 2-tile movement rate. So you can get a battle against 4 of them, like this. And, I mean, look at how quick that battle was. But it is what it is. Until there's a really, really in-depth step route to this game, we're going to be seeing... I don't even know. How many battles do you think have been in this? 200 random battles? Probably somewhere around there. Luckily they average like 4 seconds. Almost done. So, this is a game where the main character gets not 1, not 2, but 3 different unique character sprites as you go through the game. That first sprite we got with the dirt boots only lasts about 4 minutes, And then the adventurer Alex lasts up until you get the Althena sword. Now we have Dragon Master Alex. Become your destiny. And it looks like he survives all the way through the end of the tower. Very cool. Now we're off to Maribia. Because we weren't the only ones that were fulfilling our destiny. Actually, our good pal Ramus was too. And what better revenge would there be? He actually got the shop that Dross used to have. And now, in an amazing, realistic turn, he's giving you any items you need to go save the world, free of charge. I don't think I've seen any other RPG that has that sort of realism in it. But here we go. The Grindery. The final leg of the game. And you thought we encountered mazes before. Yeah, this maze is circuitous. It's labyrinthian. It's serpentine. It's everything you would want in a dungeon maze. I recently completed a step route of this that only includes 2 save and quits throughout the whole dungeon, and in theory I would walk with 0 encounters, but I've yet to actually get it into a run. It's I don't have full confidence that I'll make it through perfectly. Unless I go, maybe I'll just go a little slow, you know. In theory, I can get through Grindery with 0 encounters and only a minute and 10 of reset time. But we'll see. We'll see if that's in the cards in the future. For now, we're still making really good time, even though we have to see so many random encounters. But there should come a day in the future where, you know, runs are very more step count dependent. Definitely not fully step count dependent, because there are some tricks like that healing instead of save and quitting thing I was talking about earlier. You just can't do that sort of step count stuff in the very early game. I mean, Luna has a healing spell, but it doesn't work the same way as, let's say, Alex and Jess and Mia's healing spells. It won't move the enemy table ahead by using that. In theory, you could go buy early healing items in order to influence the table, but there just comes the point of diminishing returns. You can't take the time to go to a shop and buy something and get the money to replace it later without making it slower by skipping enemy encounters, weirdly enough. Setting up the skips will make it slower. And speaking of skips, we're here at the final dungeon. Like, we've had some bypasses, but there are no skips in this game. There are no skips, there are no glitches. It's just all... Well, I mean, I guess maybe you consider the Black Dragon's breath attack a glitch, but I mean, we're not causing that. That's why this game is awesome. It's got its programming faults for sure, but there are no sequence breaks, there are no boss skips, there are no one-hit kills. There's nothing crazy like that. There's no item duplication. It's just, you have to fight every boss, you have to go through every dungeon, and yet we can still do it in under 3 hours at world record pace. I mean, there's 17, I think, bosses you have to fight. Just as many dungeons, just as many towns, and still only 3 hours. Very impressive to me, because my story is, I actually really wanted world record at this game, back in like 2011 or something. Maybe 2012, like right when Twitch was starting, honestly. And I was very new into speedrunning, but I knew this game very well, and I really wanted it, but there was so much to learn, so many notes. The record at the time was even still pretty beastly. It was like 3:11, something like that. Elijah Miller, the pioneer. And I got a run of 3:25 eventually, which was, I mean, I didn't see my run getting much faster. So I ended up giving up for a long time. And then Holy Smith came along, and he pushed the game sub 3 hours. And then I was pretty sure I would never get world record. But then I kept speedrunning, kept getting better at speedrunning, kept getting more experience, and this year I came back to the game because I realized that I had a lot more skills than I used to have when it came to speedrunning. And I thought that I could contend for world record. And after a 7-year journey of wanting this world record, I got it this year. And I did a lot to the route lately since my world record that should push it even further down. Right now my sum of bests is 254 or something. And that's not even including the new versions of step counts in the later game. So there could easily be a day where this run is sub 255. There could, not as easily, but there could definitely be a day where this run is sub 250. And if you believe Holy Smith, he thinks it can go under sub 245. I'm not so sure about that number, but there's definitely more potential in this run. There's honestly potential for a world record live at GDQ events, especially if you have me running it this year. And especially if I don't get a world record in the time between I'm recording this and the event. But it's a great game. Like, even if I didn't get world record, I really think people would enjoy seeing this game, especially not with such in-depth talking points like I have, but just knowing what it takes in the different facets of this game, seeing all of the tech, seeing that there are no skips or glitches. It's it's still only 3 hours with all this action in there. There's not many more impressive runs to me when it comes to JRPGs, and I'll stand behind that 100%. But I digress. It's time to get into the final leg of the game here. We're taking out the very engine itself. So light barrier, just a quick aside, the light barrier strat, I thought that would help in the final boss because it's supposed to absorb a magic attack, but it doesn't actually absorb a magic attack. So not how it says it will anyway. But here we are, the flame elementals. We're taking out the actual living creatures within the engine of the grindery. This should stop it in its tracks. And pretty tough battle, honestly. We want them all to go after Alex, which luckily they've started to. Nash better get out of there if he has the option, which I doubt he will. But we'll see. He might make it. There, see? Look at this. Almost 300 cumulative damage. Actually, more than 300 cumulative damage with Nash's AI on with Thundershot 2. If you get him highly leveled enough that he has that at the end game, it's really an asset. In the old meta, people used to just think he was completely throwaway, but he's actually... Jess is now the throwaway character, honestly. So Mia went down, which is not good, because in this run we don't have extra cascade rings. and we only got 1 round of D-Protects off. So that will cost us some time in this battle. Nash survived though with 1 HP, so that's hype. Gonna keep Dragon quaking. Oh no, we actually do have enough for Holy Light, so let's do that. Seed of Vigor for Alex. And we need to pick the right one to attack with Kyle so he's not moving all over the place. At this point, Jess has become, instead of the healer, more of the item user and buffer. She has that skill Cascade Litany, which increases one ally's attack power. Later in the next battle, the new meta will have Nash be our item user. Actually got now with the route like firmly figured out in the grindery, the item management becomes actually kind of a thing of art. We can use Jess in Battle 1 and Nash in Battle 2 to use all their items they need. And then we can only re-equip 1 time towards the top of the grindery instead of like after every battle. With the run being this in-depth and complicated, it took a lot of different runs and routing before the true form of this speedrun actually showed itself. And we're getting there. We're real close now. The next world record should be real high level, because there's notes for this part of the game before. It used to just be get here and fight your heart out, but now it's now item and wow, did he just really kill him with a bow attack at this point in the game? That's pretty impressive. Alright, there we go. Only the boys left. So definitely would have been faster if Mia would have got at least 1 or 2 more D-Protects off, but that's alright, still wasn't too bad. Here we're actually out of the grindery, but just for a minute we're getting attacked by 8 frog warriors? This is kind of a part of the game that every runner does a little differently. In theory, if you can Dragon Bolt all these guys, then that's the way to do it. But you have to deal with 24 of them. So I will eventually run out of MP. In theory, you know, with some good rolls, you could have all the MP you needed. But the new meta is we should have enough Seed of Vigors to do it anyway. Like I said, we should have 56,000 silver, which will give us 14 Seed of Vigors, plus we're bringing a 15th. So, at the end of the game, you'd think that would be enough, but that's actually, like, it is enough, but it's still cutting it pretty close. But, gotta count on that Thundershot too, as well. And there's just too many of them, but look who! We got old allies from the past. We'll take care of it. Tempest and Fresca. They step in to gain us access to the final dungeon of the game. I think it's called Galleon's Palace. There's some really cool looking enemies in this part of the game, but we don't get to see them very much. Because we're just blazing through here trying to get to the final 4 bosses? Or 3 bosses? I'll leave that up to your imagination for now. But as you can see, there are some NPCs around here. And those are the different singers that Galleon kidnapped from around the world to zero in on who the goddess Althena was. It took him a while to figure out that the goddess Althena was Luna, even though Luna looks exactly similar to how the goddess looks, and all the other NPCs that he captured don't look anything like what the goddess looks like. But you know, gotta be thorough. So this is another pretty circuitous dungeon, and we're moving around so much because we can't just walk to the end. We need to go find the key to the final room. Which, I mean, if he could have hidden this key a little better, we would have just never been able to progress, I guess. But we got it now. Tower key has been received. So now we just have to find that tower door, and we're home free. I think we actually did get to get a glimpse of all of the different enemies in the Goddess Tower. There aren't too many. I think there are 4. But, they look great. And here we are. The final chamber. Now is the time to heal. Do your final re-equipment. In theory, we might have to move items around a little bit. But we're getting real close to the end here. See that item in the top right of the box earlier? That's called the amulet. It supposedly decreases the amount of enemy encounters that you get, but I'm pretty sure that while it does, it only does it by either 0.5 or 1%, because I've looked at the step count with one on and without one, and there is a difference, but only in like the highest encounter rate dungeons in the game. Alright, here's our final encounter with Zenobia. And if you're interested, take a look at the differences between the sprites of Zenobia in the English and in the Japanese version. Just leave that as food for thought. You'll be able to see that if you feel like it via Google or my Japanese world record. But for now, we have over 240 MP with Alex now, so we're just going to be holy lighting, holy lighting, holy lighting. And I usually use Cascade Litany on Kyle first as opposed to Alex, because since we'll be holy lighting so much, we're going to want Kyle to have the higher attack rate, because he's attacking 2 times every round. Alex is only attacking 1 time every round. Holy Light is a very funny looking spell. It's like a big firework. So as you can see, Kyle's dazed right now. This is like the last status effect that we'll encounter in the game. And it says he's dazed. I feel like it doesn't actually affect me though. We'll see in this round if it takes the turn from Kyle or if it makes him attack one of our party members, but yeah, you know what? I think it did take his round away. That's actually a fairly rare thing for her to do though. I actually only encountered it in this run out of like, I've probably finished the game like in 10 runs. This is the only time I've seen her cast that. And this Zenobia is another one of the enemies that has more HP in the English version as opposed to the Japanese version. So in the Japanese version, she'd already be toast. But you have to consider, we would have also had to grind probably for 2.5 minutes total. So it's too close to call which version of the game is actually faster, the English or the Japanese version. It's so close. The routes are definitely different, things are definitely different, but the times, I guarantee, like task level, they'd be within a minute, maybe 2 of each other. Too close for me to be able to tell, at any rate. And here we are, the very top of the tower. We're going to grab a final seed of vigor, because we'll probably need it with how things have been going. We also didn't have a full 56,000 silver when we went to do our seed shopping at the end. And man, look at how good he looks here.
So, little Alex became a Dragon Master. How endearing. You've come to fight for the soul of your dear Luna, but you're too late. I'm already in control of the goddess. Face it, you don't stand a chance, Dragon Boy.
So cool. Alright, so one thing that definitely bugs me now that I have drilled down and figured out a little more of this game. This dude's the Magic Emperor. But as far as my playing, I've never seen him do anything other than physical attacks in this Magic Emperor form. So he does about 50% of Alex's HP damage with all 3 attacks in one round. Does he really think he stands... We don't stand a chance? He's got Herbs of Althena sitting around that he knows we can grab. I mean, we didn't, but in theory, we could have had 2 Herbs of Althena grabbed before this fight, too. This is another boss, of course, with higher HP in this version. I mean, he can't even knock him back without attacking him all 3 times in a round. He says we don't stand a chance. Come on, bruh. Yeah. The rare Seed of Vigor from Mia. Good time for it, really. Alright. And now he's in critical. It's funny, enemy bosses get hit back when they're in critical, but main characters get hit back when they're below 50% HP. Maybe like 52% or something. Alright. Nothing to do but finish it. That's the end of the game. We beat the Magic Emperor. He's there bleeding out on the floor. Gotta just leave him there and be all good, right? No more surprises. Yeah, the new meta has much more item management skill at this point. There's no more flopping around and going into the menu here. Also, this run you're watching is only the 2nd place run in the English version. I tried to capture world record for the entry, but couldn't quite get it. I do have overall world record by 70 seconds.
Infidels! How dare you invade my
What a
inner
cool
sanctum?
voice.
Prepare to die.
Very cool. But yeah, I mean, world record's impending for sure. Especially with my new route that I came up with over the past couple weeks. And all we have to do is convince Althena that she's Luna, and oh, what? And there go the Dragon Angels. Can you believe that there was a final twist?
I'm not finished with you yet. You'll never make it out of here alive, Dragon Boy.
Cower in fear as I demonstrate my true power.
The real final boss, Flamehead Galleon. Yeah, we made it, guys. We're all the way at the end of the run. As you can see, that item is supposed to it's supposed to do a full party barrier for magic attacks. It doesn't do that though. There are actually a lot of items that are said to do one thing that don't actually do what they're supposed to do. You actually have to look into like the Japanese guidebooks and straight translate them from the item information to get the true information on what everything does. And there, me is killed off immediately. That's what I was trying to avoid. But the light barrier tactic doesn't really work. I might be able to do something with the power barrier tactic, but I gotta do a little more research on that, because items are not what they say they are in this game. I mean, some of them are. Not those ones, though. Like the magic items, like the drops and the barriers, they're just not correctly labeled for what they do. Hashtag boys only. So now Nash is pretty completely useless. But we're gonna keep going. We can't stop now. Alex is still doing 500 damage per round, so I think we got this. But of course, this is one of those enemies that's a lot stronger in the American version compared to the Japanese version. And if you'll notice, too, the memory is so in demand when you have all 5 party members on the screen in this battle. When he does full party attacks, you won't even see damage appear on some people, even though they get damaged. You won't even... Sometimes you'll see, like, I noticed Nash's sprite jumped to the left in one of the thunder attacks earlier. Sometimes you'll see like 2,000 damage appear on the screen under somebody, but it's just because this you have to have a full party for those graphic errors to happen. But the RAM is just, it's maxed in this battle, which it should be. It should be. This is the ultimate battle. Should have the ultimate memory use, I guess, you know? Alright. This is truly the end game. We're out of items. All we can do is attack until the end now. This guy looks pretty cool, huh? Look at that sword. Alright, getting a little dangerous here. We could die. Oh, oh. Look at that. Look at that, he's disappeared, he's getting away. Just kidding, there's another graphics glitch that happens in this battle. Alright. At this point, Alex, you're the only one that can reach her. And that is the final, well, almost the final difference. The final gameplay difference between the English and Japanese versions. In the Japanese version, you can just tank all these lightning bolts and make it to the end. But in the English version, if you try to do that, and you do make it all the way to the end, the final lightning bolt does 100% of your HP damage. So you literally have to play Alex's harp in this version of the game. So it all comes down to the music they shared together and the love they had as brother and sister. Kind of, you know. That's it, though.
Who are you? Your
That's
power
that's
shields
time.
you from my
We
spells.
did it. We did it,
Don't
boys.
come any closer. Stay there. No, get back. Get away. One more step and you die.
Yeah. You did it. Oh, I love this game. This game's so good.
Alex? It's really you. I was trapped in a terrible nightmare. It was dark and I was so cold and alone. But I never doubted that you would come and rescue me. Not even for a minute. Oh, Alex. Alex.
Da, 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 da. That's it. That's it, guys. I really hope you consider putting this game in a GDQ event. I'm the guy to bring it there. World record holder extraordinaire. And my love will come through for this game. I'm there to play under pressure. I got jokes. I got a buddy that'll help deliver them. I got a couch lined up. I got the technology. And I got the know-how, and this game deserves it. But more than me, this game deserves it, guys. It is amazing. There are no glitches, there are no skips, and still it can get under 3 hours. It's a beautiful thing. This game, I can't say enough about it. I've poured hundreds of hours into making it in the form it is today. Finally getting that world record after 7 years. I'm very happy to be presenting this to you as my submission for agdq 2020. I will not fail you. Bring me aboard. Honestly, this game's amazing. People will dig it. It deserves to come back. It's been there once. It's been years though. And I know it in and out, backwards and forwards, like the dungeons we've been through. I got solid notes. I got a solid couch crew. And I got a solid grasp on how long it's going to take. I will go to my time and no longer.
Oops.
You won't be saying that at the end of my run. Alright guys, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go.